Hey everyone, it's vmcampos. Welcome back to another Top Comic Book Picks with vmcampos. Hey, that's me. We're going to talk about comic books. These are the comic books that are coming out very soon. So we're going to talk about them on the weekend so that you know which are the comic books that you need to get, that you need to go reserve by the Final Order Cutoff date, which is this Monday, June 22nd. It's the Final Order Cutoff date. So we're just going to hang out this morning or evening or whatever part of the world you're in. We're just going to hang out, talk about comic books. I'd love to hear your thoughts as well about the comic books that people need to know about, what you're reading, what's coming out, what you're speculating on, what cool covers are coming out, what cool stories are coming out. So shout it out there in the chat. I'd love to hear it. Okay, so I'm going to head on over to the Previews World website. That's where I get all my secret intel information straight from Diamond. So we're going to talk about comic books. The comeback is a thing. Comic books are coming back. So let me just finish setting myself up right here and we'll talk about some comics. I put the word out to various channels. We'll do it on one more right here onto this off-topic channel. So I'm going to say, hey, comic fans. There we go right there. Let's put it out right there. And we'll see how that goes, getting the word out to all of the fine people that are interested in comics. Welcome everyone. If you haven't been on my channel before, I do videos about comic books and magic and all that good stuff. Okay, so I'm going to go through the list of all of the publishers. Of course, the elephant in the room is that DC Comics is no longer publishing or no longer distributing comics. I shouldn't say no longer publishing, that'll give everyone a heart attack. Is no longer distributing comics over through Previews World. They're going through their own publishers, but we'll talk about that later. So we'll start with Boom Studios. Here's a few things that I like. So if you're into Adventure Time and Princess Bubblegum, she's got her own new graphic novel. So this is by Shannon Wheeler as the writer. I believe Shannon Wheeler worked on Too Much Coffee Man, right? That name sounds familiar. I believe it's Too Much Coffee Man. Various others like Ryan North, who worked on Squirrel Girl, I believe. Sina Grace, art by Emily Partridge, various others, and then the design cover. So if you love Adventure Time, there's a brand new Princess Bubblegum graphic novel, and it's $9.99. I wish this would also include like the page count. That might be kind of fun to know what you're getting for that price. But anyway, there's that. If you're into Buffy the Vampire Slayer, we've got the hardcover limited edition, which of course means it's $24.99. But we've got the Buffy the Vampire Slayer Hellmouth. This is by Jordi Belair as the writer and art by Eleonora Carlini, Kyle Lambert the cover. I love this cover. It's like, let's get a zoom in close-up of that cover. It's like this realistic style of art that is en vogue and taking these characters and bringing them to life. Even though, of course, they were originally a TV show, but then they went into comics. If you never noticed, they went into a lot of Buffy comics. And here's the latest one. So, Buffy and Angel meet face-to-face in the world-ending event hundreds of years in the making. The opening of the gates of the Hellmouth, to the Hellmouth. Buffy and her Scooby Gang will have to muster all their strength as they deal with an open Hellmouth that threatens the lives of everyone they love in Sunnydale. So, classic Buffy stuff. Joss Whedon, of course, is connected with all of it because he created... Well, he didn't create the original Buffy, did he? Because there was the Christy Swanson movie with, Paul Rubens and Jason Priestley, and then there was the TV show that was way more famous. But anyway, he's involved here. On a different sort of route, we've got Faithless #2, second printing. Now, this is one of these extremely highly mature comics that If you're a grown-up and can handle it, here is a comic. This is Brian Azzarello as the writer and Mariah Lovett as the artist. Chris Anka is the cover artist. Now, this is, if you look very carefully, it says, an erotic depiction of faith and sex and the devil in the tradition of the Divine Comedy. So it's happening in Italy. You've got this main character. It's like volume 2, Faithless number 2. It's very sexy. It's very mature and all of that. So there's these variant covers, including the erotica variant cover that is being sold like this with no design being shown, because it's like, you know, extremely sexy in the, you know, in the vein of sex criminals and so forth. So you can't even see the cover until you buy it. It's still the regular price, $4.99. And this is happening. This is going over to second printing. So this is also number 2 is coming out. Faith is drawn to black magic in Turin, Italy, as she exhibits in a prestigious art gallery. So it's you know, art and demons and sexiness and all of that. And the sexy cover is $4.99. Okay, what else we've got? We've got this the Dark Crystal. If you're into the Dark Crystal, this is already an issue 9, but they've been publishing a Dark Crystal comic book. This is by Matthew Ehrman, art by Joe Cheol-hong, cover art Kelly Matthews and Nicole Matthews, in an all-new arc. So even though it's issue 9, it might be still a good one to get into because it's a new arc. Yes, you did miss the previous 8 issues, but issue 9 starts with a new arc. The story of Al-Madra Mayrin, Gelfling leader and pivotal character from Netflix's Dark Crystal, Age of Resistance, introducing a new creative team of the writer Matthew Ehrman and Joe Cheol-hong. Mayrin seeks her place as the leader of all Gelfling clans, but she feels unprepared for the great responsibility before her. So it's issue number 9, but it's a new storyline and a new creative team, and it just gives you more of what's been shown in the Netflix show. And this cover looks pretty amazing. It's like this stained glass style, and for this particular character, and just the new, you know, this prequel sequel aspect of things that comic books are doing a lot. So if you're into the Dark Crystal, that's a good one. Any Dark Crystal fans out there? Did you ever watch the original David Bowie movie? Did you watch the Netflix show? Did you read the comics? Any Dark Crystal fans out there? I remember watching the original movie, but not in theaters. And of course, it was a Jim Henson movie, so it was amazing puppets and amazing story, just totally out there. So I enjoyed it. I haven't read very many of the comics, but this is one to get into because it's a new storyline. Dark Horse Comics doesn't really have anything going on, unfortunately, in the coming week. We just have The Witcher number 3, Wild Hunt Figure Triss new edition. Yeah, this doesn't explain anything about what this is. I don't think it is even a comic. It seems to sound, it's like a figure, like an action figure statue or something. And at $49.99, probably. So yeah, Dark Horse doesn't have anything for the Final Order Cutoff date coming out soon. So if you're interested in Dark Horse Comics, you know, they're one of the ones that is slowly ramping back into production. We can also look at the other stuff that's coming out here. We have like Bandette 2nd edition. Yeah, we'll look at that in a moment. This is the first. We'll look at the Final Order Cutoff date. These are the comics you have to order by this Monday the 22nd in order for you to get your own copy. But then we'll also look what's coming out on the shelves, just in case you never ordered it. Okay, over at Dynamite, we've got like 1,000,007 Betty Page number 1s coming out. Let's look at the the Jung Gyun Yoon cover. So Vincenzo Federici and Jung Gyun Yoon and Carla Pacheco art. All new series from the writer of Carla Pacheco, who works on Spider-Woman, and artist Vincenzo Federici, Army of Darkness, and Bubba Hotep artist. Stunning starlet Betty Page has signed on to the new, tastefully sensual fantasy film, shooting on a secluded tropical island. But when one of her cast members is murdered, everyone on the island is a suspect. Who is the killer? What is the film's producers hiding? How do you get off the island? You'll have to read to discover who done it. So a brand new Betty Page over at Dynamite. They started to publish her new series in the last few months. And here's just a new #1 to get started with a new plot about murder on an island. And again, I said there's a bunch of these covers out there. Joseph Michael Linsner cover, in his style, perfectly capturing Betty Page's hair. That's one of her most famous features. Then we've got a photo cover. So classic Betty Page photo cover right there. You can go with the photo cover. There's also the black bag photo cover. So I've been noticing some of these publishers have been publishing some of these like really risque and sexy covers. So if you're looking for one of these for your collection, we've got the black bag one. So you'll have to pay $10 for this one, and I suppose it doesn't fully explain it here, but I suppose it's it says here. The black bag edition, available only as a variant for the first issue, features the same great story, but with a rare, risque photo cover of the original Bombshell posing in all her natural beauty. So all of that double speak just basically means, yep, you get naked Betty Page on the cover here, and it costs $10 instead of the regular $3.99. So yeah, there's a bunch of these new Betty Page books, and the most expensive one of all is the $50 Yoon Virgin variant cover with no trade dress and so forth. So any Betty Page fans out there? Is Dave Stevens in the chat? Did Dave Stevens enter the chat? Big Betty Page fan he was. Let's see. We've got these Army of Darkness books. I haven't really been reading these, but here's one that I've been really really waiting for. Sacred 6 is finally coming out. This has been teased for months, but of course the coronavirus pushed everything back. So Sacred 6 is finally coming out. This is basically the ladies of the Vampirella universe. I guess actually the Chaos universe, coming into their own comic where they're like a team of like, I don't want to say vampire hunters, but they're like a team of warriors. Well, we'll see the description. They're coming together as a team to go fight in the town of what's it called again? Sacred. Spinning out of the current series Vampirella, 4 women are lured to rural Georgia as part of a mysterious scheme to defend an impoverished farming town which finds itself under siege by zealots. But this isn't just any improvised farming town. This isn't just any impoverished farming town. And these aren't just any 4 women. Draculina, Pantha, Nyx, and Chastity have been brought together in Ashthorne in an effort to avert an all-out war against the nearby Sacred Georgia. So, a lot of action, a lot of evil creatures and vampires and things coming together, these main characters, to battle the forces of evil, featuring special contributions by Jay Lee. So there's the main artist, Gabrielle Ibarra, but then there's like a side story by Jay Lee in the same book. So issue number 1's finally coming out. There's a lot of variants for this. There's a Linsner cover, of course. He seems to be getting a lot of work over at Dynamite. I think the characters look cool, but I kind of think that background's a little basic, and I don't know if this is the final cover. But yeah, Sacred 6 has been kind of on the back burner for months, and it's finally okay, order it. And then we've got one more variant to look at. This is the Patricia Martin. Very cool, like graphically designed, negative space type of cover with these flat colors. I sort of feel like it's like a 60s style psychedelic poster, vaguely. What else am I looking forward to? Okay, I'm looking at these Vampirellas. There's new Vampirella number 11. Of course, I'm going to go with the cosplay cover. This is issue number 11. Seduction of the Innocent continues. In the aftermath of the tragic plane crash that changed Vampirella's life, Vampy's enemies revel in their triumph, which she hits emotional rock bottom, having lost the life she built as Ella Normandy. Okay, so cosplay cover. Dynamite is doing these for their Red Sonja and Vampirella books and a few others here and there. And I've been trying to pick these up as often as possible. I always like seeing these photo covers. You know, Dell did them throughout the 60s and the 50s, and you don't really see them as much anymore. Sometimes, you know, Marvel dabbled in the cosplay covers back in 2015, 2016, but Dynamite is one of the few that does these on a regular basis. So, any Vampirella fans out there? She celebrated 50 years now, first published in 1969, and she had a big celebration last year, and she's got another new number one series. Well, not a new number one, but a new series going on. There's a bunch of those variant covers there. Yep. So those are the items from Dynamite. We got the various Virgin covers for $50. There we go. So we'll go to the next publisher right now, IDW, in one moment. Let's put out a little bit more of... let's put out a few more feelers, a few more invitations for people to hang out. You can also let your own comic buddies know that we are live at the moment. I would appreciate that. So I'll just put out a few more tweets to people, to inviting them, and then we'll go on. Let me know what comics you're looking forward to. What have you read recently? What's the good stuff that I need to know about? Someone's tweeting an extremely tasty chicken sandwich that I want. Anyway, let's put out a couple more tweets to people. Must not get distracted by people sharing their amazing cosplay. That's it. Well, that's what I get for following too many cosplay accounts. But anyway, okay, let's find one more person. Okay, how about just one more person right here? Okay, let's keep going. So, okay, the next publisher, we've got IDW. They're publishing some stuff coming up soon. So, are you into classic Dick Tracy? We've got volume 28 of the original Chester Gould Dick Tracy. If you're into Dick Tracy, here's the original artist, original art, and all of that. 1974 to 1976. So only 2 years, but it's volume 28 because, of course, it's a daily comic strip. And I don't recognize this character, but obviously incredibly grotesque. What's this guy's name? The Brain? You know, you would assume that. Oh yeah, there it is. The grotesque villain named The Brain. Okay, so we've got Dick Tracy coming out. If you're into Disney Comics, we've got Disney Comics and Stories number 13. This is Legacy number... does this have a Legacy number? Or is it... No, it's the Giant issue, so it's a different one. But we've got a lot of new Disney stories coming out. Over from IDW of all places, even though you would think these would be published by Disney themselves, but you know, they have this third-party publishing agreement. My Little Pony books. Okay, this one was kind of interesting when I was doing the research here. Here is a trade paperback of The Groat, written by Pat Grant and cover and art by Pat Grant. In his follow-up to the critically acclaimed Blue, Pat Grant confirms his reputation as the Australian Mark Twain with a page-turning graphic novel about economic inequality and exploitation, desperation, and the gambler's addiction to hope, even in the worst of times. So cool, sort of like art, cartoony sort of art with like a heavy style. The Australian landscape is traumatized, plague is rampant, machinery only works as well as the poor sod pelleting them. Things are hotter and wetter than they used to be, giving the whole place the vibe of a sweaty armpit. If that doesn't sell you on this book, I don't know what will. So yeah, some alternative underground books and such. This is from IDW, Australia's Mark Twain. What's good here? Oh yeah, G.I. Joe. G.I. Joe also, they've got a collected for the first time in a single comic in 1984, living legend Larry Hama and artist Steve Leialoha made a huge noise in the comic industry with the release of G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero 21, Silent Interlude, the now famous silent issue featuring the daring exploits of fan favorite Snake Eyes and Scarlet, and introducing Cobra's very own deadly ninja, Storm Shadow. Later in 2008, Larry Hama and artist Jeremy Dale expanded upon the timeless tale with issue 21.5, Silence Between Borders, and has your chance to revisit both of these. So this is pretty cool. Back in '84, there was like a silent, no dialogue issue of G.I. Joe, and then later in 2008, they did kind of like a sequel to it. Now they're both collected into one, sort of a one-shot, publishing both. Not a facsimile edition, but you know, it's in that sort of vein that a lot of these comics are at the moment. That they're sort of like a facsimile edition of these classic books. So if you're into G.I. Joe, this is one to pick up. There's other G.I. Joe stuff going on, such as a new #1 of Snake Eyes' Dead Game. How about the Rob Liefeld cover? Hey, look, he's actually drawing feet. But anyway, written by Rob Liefeld, and this is the art by Rob Liefeld. Snake Eyes has long been the most mysterious member of the Joes, but how long can he keep his past classified when he's forced to play his hand? Will he get a lucky roll, or will the dead game finally catch up to him? We've also got these other variant covers by Liefeld. I kind of like the jumping at you pose a little bit better than the standing and shooting pose, but that's just me. Yeah, so some new G.I. Joe #1s. Now Stop the Presses, this is the one that, as I was prepping, this is the one that I want as well. A brand new Star Trek Deep Space Nine comic book. If you don't know, I love Star Trek Deep Space Nine, my favorite Star Trek series of all, and it is the best Star Trek series of all. Fight me, you've already lost, don't even try. Written by Scott Tipton and Denton Tipton, art by Greg Scott. Death casts his shadow as Constable Odo searches for truth amid a web of treachery and lies. Everyone on the promenade has a motive for murder, be it vengeance or justice, or old-fashioned greed. Legendary Star Trek scribes Scott Tipton and David Tipton team with noir artist Greg Scott for the first Deep Space Nine book in a decade. I remember that a decade ago, which is a long time ago. There was a Star Trek book when I got back into comics. There was actually, are you sure it's been a decade? Because I remember there was that other one with those beautiful rendered covers. Anyway, so photo cover, $3.99, brand new Deep Space Nine book. So I totally recommend this one. There's also the regular art cover. This is by Ricardo Drummond, which is not the interior artist, so you still don't get a sense of what the book looks like. Now, Odo has a blue outfit here. What is that about? Now, is this happening before or after the end of the series? I sort of think it's happening before the end of the series, but yeah, that's that book there. So that's what I'm gonna pick up definitely. And if you're into Transformers, we've got the Transformers 84 #1. So Batman 66 was a comic that DC published several years ago, and that started sort of the trend of putting the year on a few things. Then there was Wonder Woman 77, I believe, and now we have Transformers 84. So it kind of locks down also the time period in the particular comic. Simon Furman returns. The beloved writer, accompanied by the equally accomplished Guido Guidi and John Paul Beauvais, return to tell a new tale in the original Transformers comic universe, hot off the heels of the successful Transformers 84 number 0. As their Cybertronian civil war rages, Decepticon scientist Shockwave has encountered a new obstacle to the Decepticons' victory and subjugation of the planet, an obstacle called Megatron. So it's basically an origin story. It takes place at the beginning before the original comic series. And those are the items for IDW, so let's go look at some Image comics coming out. Let's see. So Die is still going on. This is the Robert Kirkman comic that came out of the blue, out of nowhere. That was not even announced or anything and just came out. An extremely violent book is issue number 11, so you're missing a lot if you jump into it here. Bonnie thought she was free of her Russian overlords. Turns out that that may not be the case. Has she trained Nancy enough to save the day, or will they both suffer a tragic fate? Join us for the story that could only be called Die. Plus, Paul and George fight. It's brutal. And then I like what they kind of like, they put this little blurb here. Here at Skybound, we believe children are the future of murder. So they always have like this little fun blurb on their covers, and their covers are always extremely violent and so forth, like someone getting their nose cut off and such. And here you have like a really cute kid being extremely violent, with swears, I'm sure. So yep, it's Kirkman, Gimple, Burnham, and Fairbairn as the creative team. This is definitely for mature readers. But this cover looks hilarious. Have any of you out there read any of the previous Die books? Did you pick those up? I picked up issue number 1. I thought it was interesting. This was an alternate future where Hillary Clinton became president after, how much do I want to spoil? After Obama declared martial law and took the presidency for a third term. So a really fascinating alternate history timeline of stuff. But anyway, here's issue number 11. I was noting that we've got things collected in trade paperback form. So we have Heart Attack, trade paperback volume 1. Superpowers and teenage romance collide in the newest Skybound original by Sean Kittleson, who worked on Mortal Kombat 11, and Eric Zawadzki, who worked on The Dregs and Eternal. Gene therapy has saved Americans from disease, only to give birth to the variants. People with powers so unique, the government denies their human rights, but a rebellion has begun. Charlie North is on the run from the police when he crosses paths with Jill Kearney. Instant attraction becomes mass destruction when they unlock powers neither knew they had. Now the question isn't about how to use them, but how far they're willing to go. And it collects issues 1 through 6, so if you love to binge read, here's a trade paperback about that. Ludocrats is chugging along. We've got issue number 3 of 5. And this has been a pretty fun series. I love the art on it. Ludocrats, the comic that makes its whole creative team shout, "Oh God, what have we done? Why didn't anyone stop us?" on a monthly basis. So it's another one of these like genre books that is like cute art, but extremely violent material and mature material and such. And so here we have the creative team written by Kieran Gillen, Jim Rossignol, art by Tamra Bonvillan, and this is the cover art by Jeff Stokely. This has been a fun book, loving the art and the weird plot. Here's the alternate. So it's this is issue 3 of 5. This is a pretty disturbing cover right there, so get that one, of course. Happy anniversary, Savage Dragon. Savage Dragon is at issue 250, and it's a 100-page book for $9.99. This is throwing back to the original issue number 1. Slightly different in that it was something like sense-shattering issue number 1 was the blurb, but here it's 250th anniversary special. The pose, though, is the exact same pose from that first issue number 1. But here we have it with the brand new Malcolm Dragon. So Erik Larsen's Savage Dragon hits 250 issues. For 28 years, Erik Larsen has chronicled the lives and times of the dragon and his extended family in one of comics' only series set in real time. This monumental, oversized milestone issue is a sweeping culmination that sets the stage for the next phase of the comic's most uncompromising series with its most shocking story yet. Forces have conspired against Malcolm Dragon and his family, but is this a turning point or the end? Find out as Savage Dragon becomes the second original title to ever reach 250 issues and begins the countdown to issue 300. Very few independent comics have reached issue 300. Cerebus, of course, did way back in like 2004. Then we had Spawn recently in 2019, I think. And what else is on issue 300? Indie. Not really too much, but there's other books that are up on the high 200s, like Savage Dragon 250. The Walking Dead made it up to 193, 197 or whatever, 193. What else is... Gold Digger is in the 270s as well. So there's very few comics independently published that have reached this high number. This one is set in real time, so that's pretty cool as well. And there's of course a bunch of variants here. This is like the DC Super 100 Spectacular Page sort of style. This is by Frank Cho. As usual, he's giving the big booty to the characters, so even here, that's fun. And then we've got this other variant. This is a Rob Liefeld variant. So fellow Image buddy Rob Liefeld does his own version with, smoky eye style. And we've got another variant. This is the okay, it's a Walter Simonson art, but I feel like it's the name here looks like the Calvin and Hobbes style of logo. And we've also got a Scotty Young variant cover right here. You shot me! Like, hey there, Eman1130, this is VM Campos, comic book fan, and we're talking about comics. How are you doing? How much do you love comics? I hope you love comics, because Savage Dragon is at number 250 with a Scotty Young variant. And what this is basically we talk about the comic books that are coming out. So let's talk comic books. Savage Dragon number 250. You shot me like a lot. Why did you shoot me so much? You're weird. Backwards drawings. Hand screwed created me. You should know I hate surprises. So the original Savage Dragon shooting the creator of Savage Dragon himself. Hilarious. So that one's coming out, 100 pages. Blank variant covers. What do you think about blank variant covers? I hate these. Like, yeah, you need to buy it, it's blank. Then you need to go to a convention or whatever to then someone draw it, which then you probably have to pay for. So you pay for this double. Yeah, you get like a unique comic book that no one has. But I don't know. What do you all think in the chat there? What do you all think? Do you like these blank variant covers? I like my covers to actually have art. Sorry. And then there's one more right here. This is the Otley cover. I love that super like pose of like classic Kirby sort of style right here. But this is Ryan Otley. So yeah, those are the Image comics that are coming out. Let's move over to Marvel. Let's see what's coming out with Marvel. Now there's a bunch of these. I don't know if this is like a shots fired towards DC. But there's these Wednesday covers that all that they really do is have the logo of the character and it says on sale Wednesday. I grew up reading Spider-Man, Marvel comics, and it's my thing, but I really think like what is Marvel up to with some of these books and stories and variants? Like this is the cover. And they're doing a bunch of them coming up. There's the one for Avengers, Captain Marvel, just browsing them all here. Another Avengers one, Fantastic Four, X-Men. There's all of these variants that are just the on sale Wednesday. And is this like a jab at DC Comics, who's now selling their comics on Tuesday? Like, I don't know, this is like editorializing. Is Marvel so petty at the moment that they're like, hey, DC, you're publishing on Tuesday, we're on Wednesday? Like, who cares? Yeah, Wednesdays is the traditional new comic book day, and it will still be that. But like, why is Marvel publishing these like sold on sale Wednesdays books? It's just so weird. Okay, let's look at some real books. So Spider-Man, of course. There's a new Wolverine book out, Wolverine 2020. I feel this is kind of late to the party. The whole 2020 storyline has already kind of passed, I think. And so, in the wake of Arno Starks' crusade against AIs, no robot is safe. Fearing of LCD's safety in these tumultuous times, Albert, the robot Wolverine, goes to Madripoor to find her. But what he finds is a fight against Madripoor's criminal underbelly instead. So, Robotic Wolverine of the year 2020, of the far-flung future of the year 2020. This is pretty hilarious that, of course, when the original 2020 plots were thought of in 1980, whatever, that was like the far-flung future. That was going to be 40 years in the future. Well, here we are, in the future, the year 2020. We got a Captain Marvel book. Wolverine makes an appearance on that one. Dead Man's Hand. It's poker night at Casa Danvers with Wolverine, Monica Rambeau, the other Captain Marvel, Spider-Woman, Hazmat, Jessica Jones, and Ms. Marvel, all in the game. Carol might just lose her shirt, but who or what is the Nexus? And why is it rooting her much-needed R&R? So it looks like a self-contained short story compared to the other plot lines going on. And we've got Wolverine and all of these other great characters there, so it might be a good jumping on point, this issue number 17. Let's see, what else do I like with Marvel? Well, Empire's finally coming out, or finally is out. We've got the second printing. This is an In-Hyuk Lee cover. In-Hyuk Lee is doing these amazing realistic covers. So you can get issue number 2, second printing, this Lee cover, which I really, really like. This is, of course, the Skrulls and the Kree creating an empire together to wipe out a little planet called Earth. We've also got these other variants, plenty of variants. Michael Cho cover. The other Cho right here. So these great variant covers, internal art looks like this. It's like, you know, it's this modern style of realistic, or not realistic, but this modern, you know, Marvel Comics style. Looks really nice. There's a new Magneto book. Giant Size X-Men Magneto, number 1. Hickman and Oliver, Master Magnetism. Jonathan Hickman continues his one-shots, showcasing some of Marvel's best artists. This time he teams up with Ben Oliver, who also did Ultimate X-Men and Thunderbolts, to bring a tale of Krakoan ambassador and Master of Magnetism Magneto. Krakoa may only be for mutants, but mutants still need to deal with the human world around them. Magneto has plans for that. Love that cover right there. It's $4.99. It's a one-shot sort of thing with Jonathan Hickman and a rotating cast of other people. So check that one out. Several variants on that. The Heroes Reborn trade paperback. This is sort of like, unfortunately, one of these WTH books. Like, no one really looks back fondly on this. When in 1996, Marvel asked Liefeld and someone else, who else was on that? Liefeld to come back, hey, do some books for us. And they were not really well received, and the writing was not that great, and they lasted too long, and here it's reprinting a bunch of them. Captain America 1 through 12, Fantastic Four 12, Avengers 12, Iron Man 12, and material from Heroes Reborn 1/2. So, I don't know, is anyone asking for this at $44.99? I guess nostalgia is a heck of a drug, and there's always going to be some people that want to go back. But yeah, there's that. Spider-Woman. It feels like I read this so long ago. Issue number 1. Here's finally issue number 2. Love the new costume. This sort of like black Miles Morales, black and red style. So issue number 2. Down with the sickness. Spider-Woman discovers the origin of her illness. Spoilers, it wasn't bad sushi or the cold everyone thought the office had. What does Jessica's illness have to do with the daughter of her old nemesis Otto Vermis? And how does a shipment of black market spiders fit in? Jessica Drew is fighting for her life while someone is pulling the strings of her web. But who? And I love that cover. That's a Jung Yoon cover. I also really like the zombified cover right here. Kind of really scary style with putrid flesh coming right at you, close-ups. So Marvel zombie variant cover. I like that one. There's a bunch of trade paperbacks for the Thanos stuff, Venom stuff, Uncanny X-Men. Oh, actually, that's a Venom number 25, second printing. So I got my original copy of number 25, but maybe I'll get the second printing as well. This is the Ryan Stegman cover. Looks pretty epic, so I would get that one. We'll browse a few of these from the alternative publishers. So for the price of 1, you can get 2, the Absolute Flipbook Pandora's Blogs. This is from Absolute Comics Group. 2 comics for the price of 1. Larry Hama, speaking of Larry Hama, G.I. Joe, is working on that, as well as Aurelio Mazzara and Jinky Coronado. This flipbook contains 2 stories, Pandora's Blogs. Now living in Legends, Florida, Pandora must uncover the appearance of a vampire, and what does he have to do with her mom's new boss? And then we've also got Monster Isle. The 3 young adventurers now have a guide to the long-forgotten amusement park dedicated to monsters. What they discover will change their lives forever. So 2 stories for the price of 1. And that's always a good price. How about some Betty and Veronica, Friends Forever, Danger Zone. Now, is this a one-shot? Betty and Veronica risk life and limb in these bold and entertaining daring stories, from skydiving to trail running to competing as a warrior and exploring a shipwreck. $2.99 by various artists, and Bill Gallagher, writer, and Dan Parent, classic Dan Parent cover artist. Love his style. We've got... Let's see, what did I also see here that I thought was cool? Here's one. I remember in the late 90s or early 2000s, there was like several Marvel, there were several manga style things. There was Star Wars manga over from Dark Horse. There was also Mangaverse style in Marvel. And then there's been like manga adaptations of these Disney characters. So here we have the manga Zero's Journey, Nightmare Before Christmas. So you this is cover not final. So it's Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas, Zero's Journey, from DJ Milky as the writer, various artists, and if you want to read those particular Nightmare Before Christmas stories, they've got some new ones. Let's see, Engine Ward number 1. So here's a new number 1 coming out. I think the cover's pretty cool. Engine Ward number 1, Joe Eisma cover. Earth is an ancient myth, long forgotten. Now the word of the godlike Celestials is absolute, and they rule with brutal efficiency. When Joss, an Engine Ward, discovers and reactivates the head of an ancient golem, she finds all is not as intended. Her destiny and that of her world lies somewhere far beyond the borders of her shantytown. George Mann, written by. So new issue number 1, sort of like from this is from Vault Comics. So some of the under the radar stuff. It's not all about superheroes. There's so many comics out there. This seems like a pretty cool, like, you know, post-apocalyptic, steampunk, cyberpunk, diesel punk sort of thing. So that's issue number 1 coming out very soon. Speaking of Gold Digger, like I mentioned earlier, Gold Digger number 273, so this has more issues than Savage Dragon. Fred Perry has been working on that for years, and if this looks like a familiar pastiche of things, well, these covers often have, you know, rip-offs of anime and manga and such. So, the Umbral Nightmare returns to Jade Realm, but this time there's a formidable defense force ready and waiting for it. Brianna, Druidic Lord and commander of her Woodland Mecha Force, springs into action from her mobile air forest fortress, the Yumato. But for most of the tech-phobic nations of Jade Realm, Brianna may be an even greater threat than the invaders. So Gold Digger, this is the series that has like metamorphed into so many things and plots, where it just started with Gina Diggers and the other one, and they were these archaeologists and stuff, and now it's like space battles in alternate dimensions and mecha and all of this wacky stuff. And through it all, Fred Perry has been working on it for 272 issues, so props to Perry. And that's an Antarctic book. Now, I missed the Grieveling number 1, but here's number 2 of the 2-issue series. From the creative team who brought you October Faction comes the Grieveling. Steve Niles and Damian Worm conclude their all-new tale of supernatural revenge as Lily Baxter returns from the grave and takes her revenge on those who have wronged her. So it's issue number 2. Your shop will probably have issue number 1, so go order that one, and then you'll have issue number 2 ready to have the whole thing to binge read it. You can't go wrong with an artist named Damian Worm. That's probably a pseudonym. Let's see. So Gung Ho is ending now, right? Issue 6. That feels like that's been going on forever, but again, because of the coronavirus pushing everything back. Zack and Yuki take a careless motorcycle joyride out the front gate into the danger zone, with Holden and some of the other teens on their bikes in hot pursuit, and are quickly joined by a pack of hungry reapers in their trail. The group soon find themselves cornered and in deep trouble, and not all may make it alive. So it's in the tradition of, you know, the Walking Dead and so forth, society on the brink of collapse. A lot of variant covers for this book. Okay. Here's a book that is completely WTH. Gut Ghost, Trouble with Sawbuck Skeleton Society Glow-in-the-Dark Edition. This is from Scout Comics, a one-shot. As seen in Heavy Metal, a special one-shot of everyone's favorite intestinal ghost, Gut Ghost finds himself mistakenly in debt to a long-standing organization cloaked in violence and hellfire. Welcome the Sawbuck Skeleton Society, with their horrific means to advance an undead agenda and collect on all living debts in a most violent way. Can good old Gut talk his way out of this one, or will he have to call upon some unlikely friends to get him out of this bone-hacking predicament? Featuring special glow-in-the-dark, special cover by industry veteran Mike Mignola, and a glow-in-the-dark variant by Enzo Garza. So this is the Garza cover, is the Mignola cover right here of Hellboy. It looks very Hellboy-ish. And so yeah, Gut Ghost, this is hilarious. This is a one-shot, it's issue number 1. It's a glow-in-the-dark cover, $7.99. So that's the one I'm gonna get. And if you like these classic 90s throwback styles of glow-in-the-dark fun, go off and check it out. Let's pause here for inviting a few more people to the chat to hang out. We'll keep it going one moment. Let's just invite a few more people to come and hang out and talk comics with us as we wind down for the day. Let me just go right over here just to my collection of cool people into actually, let me do it this way. We'll go over here. Yeah, we'll do it this way. We'll say hello to a few people while I'm talking to people. What are you all into at the moment? Any comics that I'm missing? Any comics that I should know about as the that are coming out that everyone should know about? There's a lot of cool people on my various lists of comic fans that I've met through my travels in the world of comics, just inviting several people to come and hang out. Welcome to everyone coming to hang out. So I do this every Saturday, 11:30 a.m. Pacific time. We talk about comics, the comics that are coming out. So if you're just joining the stream, thank you so much for visiting. We're talking comics. Right now I'm just putting out a little bit more, just putting out a few more feelers to people. So yeah, welcome to everyone coming to hang out. Let's look at some more comics. We've been streaming for almost about an hour. Okay, so no, this is not a reprint of the Gorillaz album Gorillaz. It is the kids book that they're borrowing a lot of these fun covers. So after the shocking turn of events at the Super Toys store, the rest of the kids come back home for a reprieve, only to find Brooke alone and Spielberg missing with a bit of fishy story. So Ben and Polly decide to do a little investigating on their own. Basically, it's a zombie apocalypse story told with very violent kids. That's what this book is all about right here. And there's a million variant covers, like from various movies, posters and stuff. This is the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids one, right? So there's that book. Issue number 5 and 6 can be ordered. Yeah, lots of variants. Speaking of another long-running creator-owned book, Knights of the Dinner Table. This is at issue 273. So this long-running series of from an independent creator is at issue 273. Jolly Blackburn is the creator. Knights of the Dinner Table features the hilarious ongoing misadventures of a group of gamers. It also includes a regular column and special feature providing useful role-playing resources, game reviews, and aids on incorporating pop culture into your gaming resources. It's a slice of fantasy life reflected in comics, articles, reviews, and features, and a positive celebration of gaming culture. So nowadays it's kind of morphed into a magazine that has some comic stories, but also like resources for the fans. So congrats to the creator here for publishing this book for this long. 273 issues. Lots of variant covers as well here. Actually, not variant covers, but this is, you're able to order in a big bulk, 273, 74, 75, 76, 77. So 277 issues. Alright, so we've got a brand new issue number 1 here. This is Patriotica. Ron Zed is the writer, art by Antipus, and cover art by Elizabeth Torque. The power of a god, the troubles of a teen. The goddess Athena, namesake descendant of the first Athena, has come to Earth to save it from invaders, out of myth. But the very power that originally vanished the gods is sapping her of her life force. To survive, she must reluctantly bond with a human, a scrawny college student named Aaron. Together they transform into the mighty Patriotica to fight gods and monsters, protect and rally the military, and deal with the campus social life. Okay, sounds interesting on that. So it's Athena plus a college student and becomes Patriotica. So this cover art here, Elizabeth Torque. Kind of like magical girl style powers. Pretty cool. Cool outfit. And then there's the variant cover as well over here. Now I noticed that this outfit is slightly different, and this is by Campos, no relation. And the outfit is slightly different. Oh, I see, yeah, it does have that band right there, but they have it up higher, I guess. Anyway, so we've got the Doctor Strange magical runes, and this is over from Antarctic Press. So issue number 1, perfect time to get into it. Another issue number 1, Possessed, number 1 of 2. This is from Clover Press. In Nazi-occupied Budapest, a young woman sees her mother and father brutally murdered by an SS officer. She escapes with her grandfather and the help of a rabbi. Filled with rage and hatred, the grandfather asks the rabbi for help, and he shows them an ancient box that contains a demon filled with hate and violence. They can have the revenge they want, but only by giving up their sense of right and wrong. Horror master Steve Niles pairs up with his criminal macabre artist, Gwila Nemeth, in this poignant and terrifying tale of a family driven to rage and vengeance. This extra-packed comic features 32 pages, Steve's entire script, and a peek of Gwila's preliminary art, prestige format, $7.99. So 2 issues, cover looks amazing. So interior art, if it's as good as this cover, I'm on board. This looks pretty amazing. And the story sounds amazing as well, like mixing reality with fantasy. That's issue number 1 of 2 of The Possessed. On a lighter fare, there's a new Rick and Morty book, Rick and Morty Go to Hell. This is issue number 2. Issue number 1's already been out. Ryan Ferrier is the writer, and Constanza Arosa is the artist. I have not seen Constanza Arosa's name on very many Rick and Morty books, so I wonder how their art looks like. Having filed an appeal with the Dark Lord Almighty, Rick and Morty must begin the treacherous paperwork, enduring circles of hell leading to the devil himself. First up, Rick and Morty must endure the ultimate regret and shame of a life well lived. Well lived anyways. Very, very good wordplay. Well lived, well lived. So, Rick and Morty Go to Hell, I think that's like 4 or 5 issues. And that's out. So what else did I see that stood out? Shrugged Volume 1. This is one of the limited edition variants. It's $14.99. I love this art. Michael Turner lends his legendary skill to this amazing convention cover. So just for the cover by itself, I want that one. But the main plot of Shrugged, I don't know too much about what's going on with that one. And it's a volume. So yeah, it looks like an interesting book. Okay, here's one, definitely. I can't believe that this is finally out. Space Riders Vortex of Darkness #2. I read this one and it feels like months ago, and it literally was because of the pandemic. But I read this first one. The art shook me. The plot shattered me. I had to reread the book right away a second time. There's very few times that I read a comic and then I reread it right away. This is one of them. I just read it right away and I did my review on it, and I loved the art style of this, and the story was so WTH, and it's like, I love it. Okay, so we got Carlos Giofoni as the writer and Alexis Zirit as the artist and the cover artist. So interior art is as good as this, is as weird, as wacky, as grotesque as this. I love it. It's a suicidal mission into the infinite vortex of blood and death. Basically, we've got Captain Peligro and his right-hand man Mono, and Peligro kills like a bunch of bounty hunters on the very first issue so exquisitely, and then he's drawn into this big cosmic story of the, what was her name? La Reina Muerte or something. This like entity that's going to destroy the universe. So they have to go destroy her first by getting into her physical form and killing her from the inside. It's so weird. It's so cool. I love it. It feels like it's got this cool, Latinx style to it. And I just loved it, and you should get it. Go back and find issue #1 and then get issue #2. This is from Black Mask Comics. And let's see what else. We've got a various obvious cover over here, but we'll go with one that I can possibly show. There's also a nude variant that I can't show. We have Unholy Agent versus Onyx, and this is from Boundless. Unholy Agent vs. Onyx, 2 variant cover editions. So doesn't really explain what these books are, but if you're into like these bad girl style of things, this book is out there. Vamp Blade, Season 4, #9, various covers like these nude covers and so forth. Risque covers. This is by Michael McComb. You can get the regular cover that you wouldn't be ashamed to display. This is issue number 46 in total. Synopsis: so much stuff has hit the fan that Vamp Blade must do the unthinkable. She must call on the help of Angel Lynch. The Danger Doll Universe event building up to Vamp Blade's epic 50th issue begins here with this crossover with Zombie Tramp. So yeah, the Zombie Tramp Danger Doll universe, like there's all of these sub-universes of characters that you don't even know if you just read the big books, but those are some kind of fun books under the radar there to check out. And guess we'll wrap up with 2 books here. Year Zero #3. So this is a book that I've been enjoying. This is the zombie apocalypse happening, but on a global scale. We have various characters. We've got a Japanese hitman, a Mexican homeless boy, an American doomsday prepper, a Muslim translator, and one more person. We've got like various points of view of the zombie apocalypse. Ben Percy and Ramon Rosanas present an epic tale that offers a global look at the zombie apocalypse. A Japanese hitman, a Mexican street urchin, an Afghan military aide, a polar research scientist, a Midwestern American survivalist. 5 survivors of a horrific global epidemic who must draw upon their unique skills and deepest instincts to navigate a world of shambling dead. Year Zero wrestles with the weighty moral and theological questions posed by the pandemic and investigates its cause and possible cure. So if you notice here carefully, there's a happy little family here, but there's a zombie on fire coming at the main characters. So I've been enjoying this book. Issue #3 is coming out soon, so this is from Artists, Writers, and Artisans, Inc. And lastly, the last book that we'll talk about on this weekly top picks, let's talk about American Mythology Productions' Zorro, Timeless Tales #1. Jean-Marie Nadaud is the writer, and Carlo Marachello is the artist with a Tom Yeats cover. Step into the golden age of Zorro comics with a nostalgic return to these classic swashbuckling adventure tales. Zorro Timeless Tales unlocks the vault of stories originally published in France by the amazing creative team of Nadaud and Marcello. The art perfectly captures the magic of Zorro's charisma and charm with incredible artistry. These are the tales that made Zorro a household name across the globe, beautifully presented to a new generation. Zorro Timeless #1 features 2 covers, Maine by Thomas Yeats and a 300 limited edition classic pulp variant. This is the regular cover right here. There's also the pulp one, which is $9.99, and this is supposed to be like a weathered, a very battered cover of a book, but I think it's too weathered. Like, is it just the cover separated? Because shouldn't it be bound on the left? So I kind of like that it's trying to look like a beat-up book, but really only the edges are beat up. Why is the logo so pristine? And then the interior art right there. So there's these 2 versions right here. So the blue one, the red one, and I don't really think this one. It's limited to only how many? 350 total. But I wouldn't. It's only $9.99. But anyway. So that's it, everyone. That was the top comic book picks for this week. These are the books that you need to order at your local comic shop to be guaranteed a copy for yourself when it eventually publishes. So that's what this series is all about. Every week we'll talk about some comics. I want to hear your take on things as well. And we'll talk about the comics that I'm on the lookout for cool covers, cool stories, variants, spec, whatever. Anything that you like about comics, that's what this series is about. So I'll be back again next week, 11:30 a.m. Pacific time. We'll talk about comics. In the meantime, don't forget to follow, to like, subscribe, all of that stuff. Don't forget to follow, to subscribe here on YouTube. Follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/vmcampos and so forth. And check out my YouTube for comic book videos every single week. This has been VM Campos, and I'll see you next time.